This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, compulsively punchable.
He's the kind of guy who you'd probably just punch on the arm really hard if you ever met him.
Worshipped by feminists.
He pokes fun at feminism and women, just joking around, his whole sandwich making thing.
Mildly inspiring.
Yes, I recommend the Ben Settle Show, and anybody who isn't on it, that's their own loss.
Somewhat authentic.
Ben is a very distinct personality. There's no fluff. I can't stand fluff.
Syrupy sweet.
Tells it like it is, and sometimes may not be the most polite manner, shall we say.
Kind of useful.
So I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and masterminds, and I've learned more from Ben Settle's podcast than from any of that.
Semi-intelligent.
Ben sounds like a crazy guy at times, but he's one of the smartest individuals in marketing I've ever met.
Mostly forgettable.
He's always in the forefront of my mind.
The BenSettle.com podcast begins now.
This is Ben Settle, the BenSettle.com podcast, coming at you from my secret location, not in a mountain lair like the Grinch, like I'd like to have, but just an old beat up Coast Guard. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, John. I basically my office is in an old barracks for Coast Guard in Bend, Oregon. Yeah, I don't know if that matters to anybody. I don't know if anybody cares. I don't know why they would, but there it is.
They're coming to find you.
So when they're trying to find me, I'm in a good spot. At least I'm in a battle-ready place, right? So I want to jump back into some Q&A. Remember we did that Q&A episode, and I solicited a bunch of questions, but we didn't get through even half of those questions. So I want to do some more question and answers today.
Okay.
And without further ado, and some of these are very long. By the way, Jonathan, I'm going to have to give some medicine out to the audience here because I like the questions. Don't get me wrong; they're all good questions. Okay, everyone who's submitting this, we asked these questions last year, so I know that it's like freaking May right now. Okay, and these questions were submitted like in November, and that's how slow we are at the BenSettle.com podcast. Sometimes just how it goes. But some of these some of y'all really need a lesson in too long didn't read. Like some of these are, Jonathan, I sent you these, right? You've seen, you're looking at them too.
Yeah,
and these are like novels. Like these are like essays. And so anyway, which is why I need to quit wasting time here and start reading them because these are going to take longer than my answers, I think.
Yeah.
So the first one is from Andre Janish. I probably butchered his last name, and I totally apologize, Andre, because I am the worst, absolute worst at pronunciation. But here's his question. How can someone kick the living crap out of the one emotion that has a sickening ability to disguise itself and sabotage you in hidden diabolical ways? I am, of course, talking about the emotion of fear and how it takes gruesome delight in keeping you stuck by manifesting itself in different forms, like fear of success, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of being judged. Man, I'm judging this question already. Fear of
you got a lot of fear.
Offending others. This dude's like plagued with fear. Fear of looking stupid and no comment. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of the unknown. Fear of loss. Feeling like a flake. And the most insidious of all, procrastination. By the way, Andre, I'm just kidding with you. These, I think everybody struggled with these, Jonathan, at one time or another. I mean, we get it. At the podcast factory, the podcasters are a little bit more mentally tough than the average bear out there. So, I can't say I've ever had a fear of success. I mean, I don't even understand how fear of success, Jonathan. I really don't. Who the hell fears success? I don't get it. I'm sure it happens, but I think it's mostly just something else. But anyway, to finish this question off, from what I have observed, if one of the many faces of fear doesn't get you, another one will, unless you're able to kick the core essence of your fear to the curb. Maybe a simpler, more elegant way to pose this question. I guess he did too long. Jonathan, I could have just saved us all the last 4 minutes. I didn't even read this last part of this question. Shame on me. I have fear of I have a fear of reading ahead, I guess. Make a simpler and more elegant way to pose this question would be how do you manifest success before fear? You know what this reminds me of, Jonathan? I literally could have saved us 5 minutes there, however long that was, reading that question. When I was in 5th grade, and this has nothing to do with anything, by the way, what he's about to say for his question, but the teacher made us read, was teaching us about following directions. And she gave us a list of stuff to do, do this, do that. One of the things was draw a triangle with a pencil and color it in as dark as you can with your pencil. And so that was one of the things. And then when you got to the very bottom of the list, it said, don't do the triangle thing. So everybody had a big black triangle on their thing and they weren't supposed to because we weren't reading ahead and we weren't following instructions. And I just made that same mistake. So I don't know what this if this adds to anybody's life, but whatever. To answer Andre's question, finally, I'm gonna give you a lesson from a comic book. One of the comics I have, it's actually a graphic novel, is the character Robin. When they had, like, a new Robin was made, like in the late 80s, they had a new Robin. His name was Tim Drake, and he had his own series. It was just called Robin. Maybe there was another thing to the title, but it was about, anyway, one of the comics in there is when he's fighting the Scarecrow. Now, the Scarecrow causes fear in people. Like, he's got this gas he sprays in your face, and then you start seeing your worst nightmares. Like, whatever you're scared of, you're going to see it. So if you're scared of spiders, you're going to see spiders trying to, like, eat your eyeballs out and that kind of stuff. Well, he got sprayed with the stuff, and he had his own demons he was confronting, and the word balloons, and I still remember this, Jonathan. You know, this is like 1988 or something. I don't know. I remember this because it was actually pretty profound writing to my young mind at the time. He said, just because I'm scared doesn't mean I can't act. So it's, you know, everybody gets scared and everybody has fear. But the difference between people who have fear and who get past it and those who don't is they take action. They take action in spite of their fear. It doesn't matter. The fear does not stop you from taking action unless you let it. So, Andre, I would say whatever your fear is out of this list, and I don't know if you are going through all of them or just a few of them or whatever, or if they come and go, but you can always act, okay? You can always act. So even if you're scared of failure or whatever, then act. Let that fear, like, fuel you. Let it drive you. Fear of criticism, good. See, I think these fears are good, Jonathan. I'm looking at these for fear of criticism. That's a damn good fear to have. It's going to make you pay more attention to what you're doing. Fear of being judged, good. Because we are judging you, Andre. We're judging your every word here. Fear of embarrassment. Well, whatever it is that embarrasses you, that will help you prepare better. You can take action by preparing to the best of your ability to combat these things. So take a lesson from Robin and realize this. Just because you're scared of something doesn't mean you can't act. How's that, Jonathan? Is that pretty profound for a bensettle.com podcast that I didn't make up, of course. I got from Robin.
Yeah, okay. bensettle.com podcast. But yeah, fear is healthy. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, all these things. Fear of loss, good. Fear of being a fake, good. Don't be a fake. I know someone who wants I don't want to say he's a prominent copywriter, but he's out there. He's out there, like, in social media and stuff. And I remember him, like, I asked him to write this little ad once, and he's like, Ben, I can't really write. I'm scared people are going to find out I can't write copy. Whoa. But he's putting himself out there as like a copywriting teacher. And he has since then become much better and all that because he let that fear of being a fake or looking like a fake or feeling like a fake cause him to take action. So these things are not bad. Fear is there for a reason. Your nervous system is there for a reason. Very, very specifically designed to keep you alive. And so it is. So anyway, I think we've beat that centaur enough, Jonathan. I'm going to move on to the next question.
All right.
This comes from the always lovely Leanne Carla Savage from across the pond. And she asked an interesting question here. Question, how do I write like a human? I have this mental, well, she gets into a lot of detail here. I have this mental spiral at times that's saying, I sound like an idiot. No one cares. I'm not giving value. I must teach something. Why am I teaching? I don't want to be hard teaching because she's an email player subscriber.
Oh, man.
Understands what I teach against. What the hell do I write? I sound like an idiot. I like numbers. Numbers you can trust. There's an answer, sometimes a couple of answers, but they follow the rules. Start using words and a Pandora's box opens up and swallows the entire world in chaos and despair. Man, this is some drama here. I'm loving this. So anything that can switch off the brain and let the words come out would be useful. Right. Gonna go and curl up in a corner, rocking backwards and forwards, hugging my copy of email players until the world makes sense. If you don't hear from me for a few weeks, send help. So I don't, Leanne, I'm a big fan of Leanne, by the way. She's a cool chick. She helps out Dan Meredith a lot in his Facebook group, for example. She's just a really cool girl, very helpful and smart as a whip. So, I think she doesn't even realize how good of a writer she is. Like, that was good writing. Her question was actually pretty good writing. Like, that could have been an email right there, what she wrote. And then, she could have just like turned it into a pitch or something. But Leanne, I think you just need to take the pressure off yourself and just be you. Don't worry about what it is you're writing. Just write. Just like you wrote this question, you didn't probably think, oh, do I sound like a machine? I mean, this is a very human writing that you put in the form of a question. I don't think you have a problem here. I think you just got to get out of your own way and just start writing and write like you talk. And it's that simple. I mean, I enjoyed reading that. So there you go. All right. Next question. Sir Jonathan of Chateau Rivera. This comes from James Walker. Most marketers and entrepreneurs try to prove to their students and readers that it's very possible for anyone to achieve the same amount of success they have achieved themselves. But honestly, can really anyone achieve success in internet marketing?
Pum, pum, pum.
What qualities what qualities or skills do they have to possess to achieve success? So, I don't know if he has a confidence problem. I don't know if he's just been, following the wrong people. Jonathan, I really don't. I would need a lot more information to give a specific custom tailored response. So I'm just going to give a generalized response. Whatever you're trying to achieve. And, I get what he's saying. People like you got the people out there with the lifestyles and all that, and they like show their boats and all this stuff, I don't really do that in my marketing. I really don't. If anything, I try to downplay what I do personally, because I don't, things can go bad in a second. I mean, things can go sour on a dime, and I don't want to be the person bragging about how great everything is, and then everything just falls to all the hell in a handbasket on me someday. I'm not into that, Jonathan. So here's what you can do, James. Regardless of what kind of success you want, okay, these are the things that work for me. I'm going to tell you some very dull, unpolished objects. There's nothing sexy about what I'm about to tell you. There's not anything bright, shiny about this. It's dull and unpolished. It's like a rusty nail. Okay, that's how dull and unpolished this is going to be, but it works. First thing is you got to have some focus. Now, Jonathan, I can tell you from the few people that I've tried to help in this crazy, copywriting, internet marketing, whatever world, this planet we're all on, there are a few people I've taken under my wing, and they always are like my dog Zoe. Like I take them for a walk, they're focused, she's focused, where I'm walking her, and then suddenly she wants to stray off in other directions. She sees something else she wants to smell. She sees something like that. There's always... There's no focus. And that's what, and like people I've trained, like that's what they do. I tell them, you have to do exactly what I tell you. They always stray off into a different direction. And then they try to mingle that horse shit they just learned from someone on Facebook with what I'm teaching, and it doesn't work, and it just frustrates the hell out of me. And this is why I don't take on any kind of private students anymore. But anyone who just has focus, who says, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to follow X, Y, Z teacher, whoever that is. I'm just going to do what they say, and you stick with it regardless of how unsexy it is and unentertaining it is, and you just do it. That is like 95% of the battle, just having focus. Another thing, and it helps when you're broke, actually, John, things you don't have a lot of money to like buy other products. But so another thing is to have a plan. I mean, you got to put a plan together for whatever it is you want. You got to have a plan. And write it down, a business plan. It doesn't have to be sexy or anything. Just say, here's what I want to do. Here's how I'm going to get there based on what I know. And if you don't know, then you're going to have to get the knowledge and find out what that is. But that's where focus comes in. And then when you have a plan, you got to stick with it. And this is where like the next 3% of that, 95% just don't focus. And then 96% don't have a plan. And 97% don't stick with it, right? So you got to stick with it. Ups and downs, it doesn't matter. The first day belongs to you. You put it into that, and you don't ever stray from that. And then finally, you got to be persistent. You just got to go after it every day. If you have a mission, which is what this should be for somebody who's doing this, it should be the first thing you think about when you get up in the morning. It should be the last thing in your mind when you go to bed at night. It should just be, you should be obsessed with it and be persistent. If you are, you don't need any of these dumbass accountability groups or any of that. You will just get up and do what needs to be done. Jonathan, are you in an account? Did I just insult? I didn't just insult you, did I? With accountability groups?
No, I run those accountability groups, but I do want to say this. I think there's a disconnect here, and the advice that you gave is good for all business. And I think the disconnect is James asking about the internet marketing. And I think that's the hang up. Like internet marketing isn't anything, isn't anything different than direct response marketing or any other kind of marketing. It's what you apply it to. And so having a real business and not trying to just sell info products on list building might be a good way to start your venture. Like use these skills that you have for a real business and you'll see results much quicker.
Yeah. One of my business partners, Eric McMillan, he's a traffic guy. He was out of the game for like a year, he said, and he went and just built a $2 million a year construction business using the same skills. It's all the same. So anyway, enough said, James. You just do what I say and all will be fine. At least when it comes to that. And you'll be fine.
Take your medicine, boy.
Take your medicine. Take that medicine. You might have to plug your nose while you swallow it, but it's for your own growth. Next question is from Pete. Oh, God, I can't.
Whoa.
Jonathan, you want to take a shot at pronouncing that? I'm not even going to bother. I don't want to insult this
Is
guy.
that an I? Ippolito? Oh, forget it.
Ippolito?
Maybe.
Pete Ippolito? That actually has a nice flow to it. Pete Ippolito. Pete Ippolito. It's almost like a pita. I'm kidding. Pete, I'm just messing with you. All right. So here's his question. You've set your biz up to provide a great, if not eye-popping income, and most importantly, time and freedom. By the way, this guy's question is the exact opposite of the fear of failure guy. Or actually, it's the exact opposite of James's question. For lots of us in a similar position, that was always the goal. But now that we're here, we feel strangely anxious about just enjoying it. So in other words, he's already found success, Jonathan. This guy's like, he's already doing it.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes guilty about not cutting loose even more. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you feel anxious about not seizing every opportunity? Or worry that things will fall apart at some point unless you keep hustling? Or just plain old puritanical guilt about not working from dawn to dusk? I do have my guilt hangups, but they are none of these.
Get out of here. The 4-minute workday.
I embrace all this stuff. I think you need to, Pete, I think you need to enjoy it. I think you need to have the mindset like I do, where you have to like make yourself paranoid, where you say, this could all be taken away tomorrow. So I need to enjoy this while it lasts. That's the way, Jonathan, that is absolutely the way I look at it. I mean, think about the world we live in right now. We got terrorists trying to kill us. Okay, I got a tsunami that's going to come and wipe off everything west of I-5, which means me. Okay, it's supposedly going to happen any day now. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We got meteors coming by the Earth trying to kill us. Okay, we got all this, there's all this stuff that's happening. Like, you need to enjoy it, man, because it could all be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or you could end up getting, God forbid, a terminal illness or something. And you're going to like look back and you're say, God, I wish I'd enjoyed all this stuff. Like, Jonathan, these are the sweet, pleasant thoughts that go through my mind when I tuck myself into bed at night. I'm thinking about tsunamis killing me and terrorists like trying to blow me up. I'm always traveling all the time, it seems. So I'm always like, is this plane going to go down? So I think Pete, I think you need to be a little more paranoid. I think you need to say, this could all be taken away tomorrow. If this was all going to be gone, like in the next few days, what would I do? How would I behave? I'm not saying don't work. I'm just saying, like, enjoy. So anyway, it's all about balance at the end of the day. You got to have a balanced life. And that's how I get my balance. So next question from the lovely Jenny Joland. I think that's how I pronounce her name, is SJOLUND. Longtime email player, subscriber, great person. And she asks, does your dating relationship advice to men apply to women? Or do we need to play the game differently? I think this is a great question, Jonathan. I really do. And I think the answer is, I don't know, because I'm not a girl and I consider women the enemy. I'm not going to. So that's the way it goes. There's an episode of Smallville. I believe it was season 8, when Lois Lane, her cousin's getting married. And she tells her cousin, because Lois Lane's dad in that show was a 5-star general. So she called her dad the general. And she said, the general always says marriage is the only war where you get to sleep with the enemy.
Nice.
So, when I say enemy, it's not like, oh, I want to kill them. It's just that their agenda is different than ours. I mean, their agenda is to get your commitment, Jonathan. That is the girl's agenda. A guy's agenda is not generally to get the girl. The weaker guys, they want, I need a girlfriend and all that stuff. I'm talking about regular dudes who like have confidence and all that, and they have options. I'm trying to avoid being like, I'm trying to avoid commitment. And then the girl who overcomes that and finally gets me, that's cool. But, they have to work for it, just like we have to work for certain things we want from them. So, it is a different game, Jenny. And I mean, some of the principles are the same, but I think it's a different animal all to itself. Maybe I'll do a podcast on that, Jonathan, where I'll talk about what they should be doing, but even then it's going to come from my point of view. So it's going to be very biased, So I'm really not the guy to like teach this kind of stuff. But so that's that. And then we'll do one more question, then we'll wrap this up. This is from Jeremy Estes, who I got to hang out with about a year ago, which was kind of fun. How do you recover from failed campaigns? 2016. So again, we're like halfway through 2017, Jonathan. I'm just getting to this question. 2016 was back-to-back failure for me. And now I feel like everything I touch will go to shit. As you might imagine, that kind of scaredy cat response has done a number on my bank account. Yeah, here's the thing, and this is something that Doberman Dan taught me many years ago. I don't even think he remembers telling me this, but it had an impact on me. A failure is not a failure. It's just a result in marketing. If something didn't work out it was just a result. It's not you weren't necessarily like you screwed anything up or that you're a failure. It's not failure. It's just a result. You tried something, it didn't work. It's a result. Had you not tried it, you wouldn't have known it didn't work. So I don't know if this helps or not. I mean, I know this isn't the most profound advice I've ever given Jonathan, but that would be my advice for Jeremy, is just realize that these aren't failures, they're just results. And there's good results and there's bad results. And, you know, probably you're already bouncing your way back up, I would guess by now anyway, because I've waited so long to get to your question. And
hopefully you're
so
still alive.
Hopefully you're still alive. You know, yeah, exactly. Which goes back to my paranoia thing. So anyway, that's a wrap for this one, Jonathan. We'll be back next week with probably a very short episode. I can't imagine this next one being very long, but you never know because sometimes I go on rants. But it's about why there's no crying in copywriting. So this is definitely going to be one for girls especially, but guys too. We'll see.
I don't know about that. Seems like guys are more emotional than girls these days, but that's another show.
They are. You ever notice that? Like they go out of their way to say, "I cried." Why the hell are they publicly telling people they're crying?
I'd be ashamed of that.
I'd be ashamed as a motherfucker. It's like, I'm going to say that out loud. My mom died. I didn't cry. Hell no. I'm going to lie my ass off when she dies.
That's right.
That's
right, bro.
So anyway.
Yeah, let's move on here. All right, so another bensettle.com podcast is in the can. We'll be back with you next week. Thank you for tuning in.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To get your hands on a free issue of Ben Settle's prestigious $97 per month email player's newsletter, simply go to www.bensettle.com.
This is the podcastfactory.com.